So things to look at: exposure assessments. So we talked about trying to work out the dose response arrangement, so what's going to affect people's health. Just a quick note now on on exposure assessment. So how could you measure or predict exposure? So we use simple monitoring techniques for this. So you can have personal monitoring equipment. So this looks a bit like this. You see the gentleman on the left here, he's got a sensor for ambient air pollutants in mining. And so we can see from this individual's behavior over a given day what they're exposed to. So this is just strapping a sensor along with a data logger and a power supply to someone, and then they just go about their daily business. This is much more effective. The person on the right, just their interest is looking at exposure monitoring to asbestos, which is contaminating the ground around them. And so this is more effective than background atmospheric monitoring, because if you imagine, the person may spend different amounts of time in areas with different levels of exposure. Ambient monitoring is still done, however, if particularly if you're wanting to model exposure at different distances from a source of a pollutant. So the one on the right is beyond the perimeter fence of an industrial premises, to work out how much the emissions are getting out to the public sort of living in the surrounding area. And then the one on the left, this is a point source monitoring station, which is you have these different radiuses away from your emitter. For instance, nuclear power stations will have these different points, so maybe at 500 meters away, then at a kilometer away, and then at 5 kilometers away, continuously measuring levels of pollutants in these locations. And so this continuous monitoring can help to identify to help you model exposure not only of employees but also of the general public living near your emitter. And also we have biological monitoring. So this takes two forms. You can either collect bioaccumulators, such as, for instance, mussels, which naturally filter pollutants out of the environment and store them up in their tissues. But you can also look for so you can also sample for specific indicator species that will cease to appear if levels of pollutants arise above a certain level. So we see some examples of that here.